Hi, everybody. It is the Homemade Broadcast, episode 563. My name is Will Kuncz, and this is a painted on a Hummel.
Hello. No,
You
I actually took all my makeup off.
really? Because it still looks like it's on there. You're
Oh, I
glowing.
have a glow. I'm telling you, it's these lights.
Mm,
I don't know if they make me look a little less hideous, but I'll take what I can get. No, I hate makeup and I hate bras.
yeah.
So as soon as I cut the Zoom camera, bra was off, paint on my face removed.
Anna is covering on Kale and Company in Pennsylvania this week, in Philadelphia, City of
Mm,
Brotherly Love. So she's actually there currently when this is airing. Well,
mm.
that might not be true. I think it's going to be Sunday. We did pre-record this one since Anna's going to be busy doing big time radio stuff, and I have to go to a wedding.
Who
So,
is getting married?
oh man, there's so many people getting married. It is,
This weekend.
yeah, this weekend it is my partner Julia's
Oh.
friend. So we're going to Asheville to
Oh, are you
a
flying
wedding.
there, right?
We're flying.
Oh,
Yes. Luckily, Allegiant does have a direct flight to Asheville. So it's pretty cheap. I have another wedding that I'm going to in June, and that one is going to cost a fortune to get to because it's in a small town in Colorado. So it's like you could either fly to Denver, Albuquerque, and drive 4 or 5 hours, or you can fly, do a connector into the small airport there. So I was looking at airfare, and it's like
way
800,
more expensive. Yeah.
and I gotta bring, or I don't have to. I want to bring my partner with me,
Yes.
and so I'll be footing the bill for both of those flights.
Oof.
I'll find out a way to get there as
Good
cheap
thing
as
you won all
possible.
that money gambling. Just kidding. You lost it all.
Yeah.
Question.
Uh-huh.
How many people are they expecting at this wedding? Like the guest list? Is it
Which one? Are we talking the one I'm
oh
going
the
to now?
Colorado.
Colorado, I think, is around 60, 70 people.
Okay, so
Something.
pretty small.
Yeah, it's fairly small.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that's nice. I like small never mind. I like big weddings too.
how big is too big though? Because I went to an Indian wedding a few months ago, and that one was like 600 people.
Well, it's like, what do you like better, a rave or an intimate musical experience? It's like, depending on my mood, maybe I want to rage. Maybe I want to go to the circus. But typically, I feel like I like the more intimate stuff. But I definitely drink more at the bigger ones,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I do know. I do know what you. This one should be interesting because I'm going to. It's like a big shared house or something. So I'm going to be staying with a bunch of strangers. So that should be. I'm worried about. I'm going to have to just bring my own food. I think I had pasta sauce last night, and my tummy can't take it anymore. I don't think I can eat red pasta sauce anymore.
Okay. Okay. No onions. You can't have like peppers.
Well, it's like, listen, I can eat those things,
I
but
know. But then
what
you
happens
feel,
the
yeah.
next day or shortly after is so horrific that I need to be alone. Like if I lived alone, I would probably still continue to eat pasta sauce and onions because I enjoy those things. But being that I'm going to be with, I'm try my best to try to keep my disgustingness and hide it from my partner Julia, but I don't do a very good job. And luckily, she's very accepting and understanding of my conditions.
Mm.
But I still feel bad, and I don't want to gross her out. My goal is to gross her out least like as little as possible.
That's fair. That's a good goal to have. It
Yeah,
seems like there's just every year, every growing year, another ring on the tree is like one more thing you can't eat. I feel like you don't, no offense. Oh, please don't take offense. I
no,
feel like you don't have a very robust, like immune slash gastrointestinal system. It
no.
seems like you're very weak in that way.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I was actually watching. You know why? I think it is too. I just discovered this.
Mm.
My theory. I was not breastfed, and I think that
Mm.
that had a negative effects.
Need that titty juice.
You do, and but it's very important. I was watching a podcast, and it was talking about how those antigens are you kind of get immunity from certain things through the milk. The mother
Mm,
has immunity, and then they pass it on
mm,
through the milk. And it's
right.
important to drink the milk.
Yeah.
And I didn't get any milk
Oh,
for some
yeah, you
reason.
gotta have the milk. I was breastfed and I got the pictures to prove it because
Oh,
I was a chunk well, not that, but I meant like I was a
I'd like to
chunky
see
baby.
those if you don't mind. I'd like to see them.
You know, it's funny, one of my first memories is actually of my mother breastfeeding my sister and me being like, "Hey, can I try that?" Not from the tap,
Mama, baby, you
not
want
from
milk?
the tap, but, like, she squirted it into a cup, and I'm like, "Oh, this is probably gonna be so delicious." Because I
Mm,
felt like babies are pretty finicky, right? Like, they probably like sweet stuff like me. I'm 4 at the time.
yeah,
My mom squirts this juice into this cup, and I take one sip, and I was like, "It's
no likey,
so gross."
no likey. Do you think that could be where your aversion from animal products came from?
From my mom's tits? No.
Yes.
No, because I drink cow milk and dairy and eggs and stuff like
Oh,
that.
you do? You drink milk?
Yeah. I mean, not
Oh,
regularly, but and not the, like, healthy, the whole, like, raw milk, unpasteurized. I don't give up about any of that
yeah.
at all. I'm like I don't know why I've taken, like, a 180 with the whole, like, RFK Jr. stuff. Like, I don't care about the dyes. I don't care about
Hmm.
really care about the hormones. Like, if you were to press me on it, I'm like, "Yeah, it's probably not good." And all the antibiotics probably not good, but I just what are you gonna worry about everything? I stand in front of the microwave. I have a phone that's emitting RF radiation. I put lotion on my skin that has fragrance. Like, I can't be worried about everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true, but also, I mean, you should probably try to be as healthy as possible and try to live a clean lifestyle. I'm wondering if it's even
Okay,
possible.
do you realize what you just said to
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
What you said to me, bitch,
uh-huh.
I say that to you.
Well, yeah, right, but I'm saying, like, if you can avoid certain things, like the dyes, like the dyes and stuff don't seem to be placed in anywhere else in the world except here. I don't understand why.
Because America doesn't care, because George Bush doesn't care about black people. That's why. Because
Well,
there's money to be made and less
hold on a
regulation,
second.
the better.
Let me say something because the money being made thing is interesting because it's saying they're using more product. They're using dyes which cost money. So they're not really they would save money by taking them out, not by putting it in.
Not
Unless it's cheap.
necessarily, because I mean, like in Europe, it's not like their foods, some of their pastries don't have certain colors. They just might be using different emulsifiers or different like organic purees where we can just dip in like a cheap chemical dye. Listen, I'm not seeking like these little Debbie foods, the Christmas trees or whatever. I'm not seeking this out, but I'm not going to also like lose my shit if I have one occasionally.
I should mention it. This is gonna go on Radio St. Pete too.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. That's all right. No
Sorry.
worries. I have to edit out the T word now and the S.
Oh, and I said it a lot too. I'm sorry. I thought this was the uncensored.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No worries. Yeah. Well, I think it's a good idea. I wonder how possible it is and how much work it's going to take to get these things and get everybody on board. But it does concern me when there is just like, yeah, there's a bunch of dyes and stuff in our food and they don't seem to be anywhere else in the world. Everyone else has banned these things for some reason.
Mhm.
The reason is that they're banned. I mean, they must be negative effect.
Yeah, yeah, I would never make the argument that they're good for you. I just don't think in excess it's really gonna move the needle that much. So, for example, like if you're trying to fill up a bucket, like a big bucket with rocks, you probably start looking for bigger rocks. You don't fill it up with little tiny pebbles because that would take you a long time. That's kind of how I view the whole dye seed oils thing. The main issue is that we're just over consuming food. That's the majority of where the problems are coming from. If on the margins, taking out the dye and
How
having
do you know? How do you know that it's just people overeating and that they're just not eating poisoned food?
because I have those things and many healthy people have those things occasionally and they don't drop dead.
Yeah,
They
but
don't
you were
have
breastfed.
diabetes. Like I eat, pizza every now and again. I have a Christmas tree thing.
No, you eat like an insane person. You have a very strict
I
diet.
do, but I'm telling you, occasionally I
Yeah.
have these things. Maybe over the you don't see me when I'm bad, and you've seen me when I turn. You've seen me when I go to a 7-Eleven or when I go to a Chili's or something, and I just like no holds bar, just like let it rip. You've seen that side of me. That
Rare.
person still exists.
Rarely.
Right. It's rare, but it exists. If it was poison, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of poison. If it was poison, it would like kill you on, dead on arrival. But those aren't the people we're worried about. You're not worried about people who are like generally fit and every now and again they have like a bag of fucking Funyuns or whatever. Sorry. I'm so sorry. So
Uh,
sorry. I'm so sorry.
I gotta
Sorry.
start keeping track now. I gotta keep a list.
I know.
At 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Hummel.
So
Not me.
I know. I apologize. My
And
bad.
that.
Creating more work for you is not my goal. Though what I'm saying is that the main problem, the reason why we all suffer from, not me, suffer from metabolic syndrome and other related metabolic disorders is the fact that we're just over consuming food and we're probably not moving enough. So
Well, I think it's a combo of those two things, and also it might be the poison in the food that's making the food that we eat have an exponential effect on our metabolic system, perhaps because it can't do certain things, and maybe it doesn't. Your body doesn't know what to do. Now, I'm not a doctor,
yeah.
just so everybody understands, but maybe it doesn't know what to do with these things, so it just wraps it up in fat and puts it in your body. You know what I mean?
Perhaps I will give you this. It probably a lot of those additives and stuff make the food tastier so you eat more of it. Like there's definitely a lot of that going on where it's like hijacking the dopamine reward system in your brain so you over consume. But again, the main issue as far as I understand it is that we are just over consuming food. So here's the thing, like if you had a donut a day, you would definitely lose weight. I would never recommend anyone go on the donut diet, but if you're only having like 350, 400 calories a day, you're going to lose weight. Now, it's not going to give you adequate protein. I would not suggest that you would be healthier, but you would certainly lose fat if you were consuming less than you are now.
I Okay. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think a lot of people are overeating. I just think that the food quality too has a lot to do with it. It's not just one thing. I think people are eating too much of the
Sure.
bad food, and I think the bad food is having a negative effect. And I also think we don't move as much. Like the podcast I was listening to about the breastfeeding, they were talking about how this actually it was Rogan, and he had some doctor on, but they were talking about
The
Joe's.
woman, the polio woman.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was saying that, or he was saying how much he loves Italian food. Like he loves pizza, loves
The
lasagna.
subs. Yeah.
Yeah, but he can't eat it because he just feels like he's got a brick sitting in his body and he's just got to take a 12-hour nap
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. But he said he was in Italy and the same. He's like, I'm just gonna eat a whole pizza. It's so good. I'm gonna eat a whole pizza. I'm gonna feel bad, and then I'll get over it, and I'll take my 12-hour nap and get up the next day and start over. He said he ate the whole pizza there and he was waiting for it and he didn't get it. He didn't get there where it
Mm-hmm.
just felt like he was dying after.
Mm-hmm.
And his theory was that it's the genetically modified gluten that's in there that makes
Mm-hmm.
it more robust. I guess
Mm-hmm.
easier to farm and can feed a lot of people. It grows
Has a
better.
longer shelf life or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just more of it, period. So I wonder how much this has to do with just trying to make more food to feed the population so nobody's in want, because
Mm-hmm.
we have that in America. We have that uh, what
Abundance.
abundance. Thank you. Yeah. We don't want
No.
to go hungry ever. Nobody.
No. And even our like homeless people are fat. Like being starvation is like not an issue. like, I mean, of course, I'm sure there's some people like that kid that was locked up in his stepmom's, bedroom for 2 decades. Like he was okay. But by and large, starvation is not at all an issue in America. In fact, it's the opposite. We're
Yeah.
fat, and that's why we're
Yeah.
unhealthy. And Rogan is not the first person I've heard that from. I've heard that from a lot of people who are gluten intolerant, and then they go to Europe and they eat a lot of gluten and they're fine. So yeah, it could be
So
the
yeah,
pesticides, it could be the genetically modified. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I
because
mean, you definitely need to investigate more for sure.
you do know what it is because you just said it's because they're messing around. Now it could be for
I mean,
good reasons.
specifically.
Yeah, they're messing around with genetically modifying things, viruses or anything else.
There could be the
Yeah.
pesticides, like there's pesticides that you can't use in Europe that you can use in America, and maybe that's what's causing the irritation. I don't know.
I'm sure that has something to do with it too. And I wonder, what the effects would be if we just stopped doing all this stuff, if you went into that sustainable farming, which I think would be ideal, certainly for
Mhm.
everybody. But is it feasible where you got to feed, major cities in the country because like in China, they're just like, you just starve. We don't care.
Mm.
Life is not really like you grow your own food, whatever you need to do to survive. But here there's an expectation to be fed. Like we have food stamps. If you need them or if you don't need them, even if you fill out the paperwork, you're probably going to get them. So there's pressure to produce whatever's edible and an abundance of it so people don't riot, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and it's also shelf stable. That's another
Yeah.
problem is these hyper or ultra processed foods. You can keep them in your pantry for years and they're fine. I've seen like videos where people open up a Twinkie from like 1995 and it's totally preserved. Like
Yeah.
it's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, food shouldn't do that. It should spoil. Like natural, good, whole food should spoil. You should not be able to keep it for too long. But you're right. Yeah, to keep us fed and to have a long shelf life. And it's also very cheap. That's another thing is you can make it in abundance and it's also super affordable and super palatable, hyper palatable. So it tastes really good. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
It's just I feel like that it's also obviously the trade-off there is, well, you're getting fed and there's abundance of food here in the country. Poor people are fat. That's how good it is
Yeah.
here. But
And
also
it's
you're
so
gonna
good.
die.
It's so good that when you see a wildly thin person on the street, you never think, oh, they don't have enough food, they don't have money for food. You go, they're anorexic. Like
Mhm.
you never think like you see a starving person in Yemen, you go, probably not anorexic,
Yeah.
probably a blockade on supplies. But you see someone like that in the States and you go, they're mentally ill,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And that is weird because there are some people, the vast majority of the population in this country is, overweight or obese at this
Yes.
point. So it's weird when you see a thin person and
Yeah.
that's they're just genetic freaks is what I attribute it to because they're
No.
eating,
I mean,
you know,
there's some unicorns out there that
yeah.
are just thin by nature, but most people, especially, 5-10 years after puberty, are gonna probably have a very sensitive metabolism. Like me, I've never been like naturally thin, even before puberty. Like I was a chubby kid. If I ate more, I got fatter. It was very normal metabolism, and I had to work very hard and have a lot of OCD on my side to keep things in order. So
It's hard to imagine you though. Like, you can like see like when you saw like Jonah Hill or Horatio Sands or some of those guys who lost a bunch of weight, like they look weird. Then
yeah,
they still look fat for some reason. They're thin, but they look fat, even
you
still.
can't erase the memory of their fatness.
I wonder if that's what it is. It kind of just looks like they're weird on their body. Like it'd be hard to imagine you chunky
Thank you.
up on you.
Yeah, it certainly was and have the capability to be now, but I just got to keep it in order. And it's like I am so grateful. This is probably the only reason why I'm grateful for OCD because I am just so fearful of getting fat. Whether you want to blame society or my family or peers, whatever, who cares? But if I didn't have that fear, I would be 1,000 pounds. You know what I mean? And I would often get, praised for my discipline. And I'm like, you have no idea where this is coming. It's not motivation, it's fear. Like every day that I would work out, especially like in college, it was like, I don't want to be fat. It wasn't like, I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to look good. It's like, if you don't do this, something bad's going to happen. So I have that drive. It's not as quite as loud now, but I can't imagine what it's like for the normal person without OCD. It must be so difficult to like get up and be like, I'm going to start something new and it's going to be really tough and I'm not going to see any results for probably a month. That is wild to me.
Yeah. I mean, I was really thin when I was a kid, like rail thin. And then I started taking this medication and that's where I gained all my weight. And then ever since then, my weight was like a battle for me. But like I look at my dad now and I'm like, oh, I just have the same body as my dad. Like it's not even like it's not even like goo, like fat. I'm just like a beer belly, like it's hard in there. It's not even soft. I mean, there is some soft, don't get me wrong.
You're a hard fat versus a soft fat.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't think. It's more of just like soft fat people look real comfortable. I remember meeting this woman in like Plant City, and it's too long of and a boring story of like how I met her. But I remember seeing her and she had just like the fat, like really fat people oftentimes have the most beautiful, like succulent skin. This woman
Lots of
had
butter.
like porcelain white, not a wrinkle in sight. Cause the fat, look at people who lose a bunch of weight, then they start to like look their age. You know what I mean? But she was just like so plump from her like fingers, her wrists. You know what I mean? Like she had like a hair tie around her wrist, and that thing was just screaming. You know what I mean? And she was a soft fat, really feminine fat. And I just remember seeing her and being like, beanbag chair. Like I just wanted to like waterbed. You know what I mean? And my boyfriend at the time was like, that's a weird reaction to have to somebody, is that you just want to like lay on them.
Yeah.
But I did.
Yeah, I feel like I wonder if I'm just full of farts. And that's really
Full
what
of air.
Yeah, that's what my body is made out of. That might be the title of this episode. But yeah, so and I guess when you're talking about the lady, it's like a lot of butter. Like that's just a diet thing. I think that's like real fat. That's like a butter, high in butter and oil, where it just kind of seeps out of your skin and makes it all soft and nice.
She was gorgeous. She looked delicious. She looked like a gumdrop. Like she was just so short and like very, very portly and like spilling over the chair. But she just had like a soft, like plush, like those giant plush toys at like Walmart in the big like bins. She was like that.
Yeah. She wasn't just a body full of fart. She was
No.
full of butter and goodness.
Yeah, and like just clouds and marshmallows. Like she was the best. I don't even know her name, but I just remember like locking eyes on that. I'm like, I want some of that.
So it's not it's kind of interesting you brought this up because I did find this story here, and it all came from my inability to eat any sort of foods anymore without having hellacious diarrhea. This is a story here. Florida lawmaker pushes for healthier school lunches and banning processed food. Like we were just saying, Anna. Let's watch this together.
So right now, more than ever before, we're paying closer attention to all that fine print and the labels on our food.
It can be a lot.
Yep.
Some you can't pronounce. It's way too common, honestly, to find ultra-processed ingredients in everyday snacks and meals. And Fox 13's Evan Moon is in the studio tonight. And Evan, I know you spoke with one state lawmaker who's really hoping to address the issue in our public schools.
Hi, Allie. That's right. Nationwide health officials are looking at chemicals in our foods, even banning that red dye number 3 earlier this year. But now there's a renewed focus on what foods are given to our children in the public school system. And one lawmaker, like you said, wanting to make change here in the state this year with no hyper-processed foods on school menus. At the highest levels of government, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. has brought processed food to the forefront. His Make America Healthy Again movement looking at school lunches. That concern sparking potential change here in Florida.
Now, the school lunches, I don't know about California, Anna, but the ones in Florida, when I was in school, now I know they took the soda machines out of the school, thank God, because I would just get a soda every day. And then for lunch, usually I'd have a cookie. You could buy just like, they were really good. They were these, I don't know if they made them in-house or they shipped them in, but they were just wrapped in plastic and they had a bunch of chocolate chips all over them. But if you did get the school lunch, it would be like a chicken sandwich, processed patty on some white bread, or a piece of pizza, which was also very processed. That was pretty much it. I don't remember there being, it was like fries. It was like pizza and French fries.
I went to public school for 13 years. I never once bought lunch at school.
Did you bring it?
Yes.
You did. What did a typical lunch look like for you in high school?
You know, I don't want to say it was not much better, but my parents know a lot more now than they did then. But usually it was like a sandwich and a small bag of chips and maybe sometimes a juice, like not good stuff, and fruit and maybe some cookie stuff. So not much better, but maybe it wasn't good at all actually, but I survived somehow.
One of the things I learned was that not only do I think a lot of the food is kind of pumped in, bought from other companies, they also supply not only schools but prisons. So essentially it is prison
Yeah.
served, and at least in the Florida public. I don't know if it's any better now. Like I said, I know they did take out the soda machines and stuff, but this was shortly after 9/11, and there was just bigger fish to fry than if there were soda machines. It was like the kids have gone through a lot. Let's let them get a soda.
Right.
Too. Their world is over. The world that was is gone.
Sure.
Let them have Coca-Cola.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's finish this.
This bill focuses on food that is highly processed or ultra processed, and that is defined as industrially manufactured, nutrient depleted food containing synthetic additives that are not nourishing to students.
A new bill looks to eliminate some ingredients from cafeterias, including several dyes, titanium dioxide.
Okay, that was it. Do you see it, Anna? That was pretty much the lunch right there.
Yeah.
The chicken patty, French fries, ketchup, and then of course they would give you a milk for your health. It looks like the young man here has a
cookie or something.
It looks like fruit snacks. So just gelatin.
The coloring agent and brominated vegetable oil, which stabilizes processed foods. He says these cause obesity and can be linked to chronic diseases.
I think that the legislature needs to step up and make sure that the kids who are eating food that we're providing that their health is not being detrimentally affected. I'd love the federal government to address this. They haven't.
One nutritionist agrees.
In general, your nutrition is easily 80% of what makes up your health. Education and knowledge is always a good thing when it comes to any of these challenges because it makes us aware. And when you're aware, then you're able to make adjustments to better your health.
Apart from processed foods, she says kids need more of the basics.
Children don't actually eat enough vegetables and fruits.
We spoke with local representative Daryl Roussan about why he voted against the school lunch bill in one committee last week.
The bill didn't come with any funding or any appropriation requests. So this would again been an unfunded mandate on school districts. And they would have had to scramble to find the money.
Well, they're funded already. It's just saying you find the funding that you have, buy food and don't buy chemicals. Is essentially what it is, right? You don't need more money.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me that I saw the D in front of the name and I thought, who would be against healthier lunches for the kids? It seems like you have no problem collecting tax dollars and sending them to DEI programs in Guatemala. Like, you don't think this would be worthwhile to have a healthier youth?
As long as they have more money, they're good.
We also reached out to local school districts about their menus and heard back from Hillsborough County, who said our district has taken a proactive approach to reducing colors, salts, and added sugars on our menu. We've been working with food manufacturers for over 5 years, asking them to reformulate certain items. Hillsborough County Public Schools currently has 0 foods with brominated vegetable oils or propylparabens. Now, the bill was voted down in its first committee in Tallahassee last week with questions about the fast timeline for implementation in 2025 and concern by big manufacturers that they would have to have different ingredients just for our state alone. Now, some lawmakers want this to be done federally first. Back to you guys.
All right, Evan, move with this time.
I mean, I think this is a good thing. I can't believe it's something that's been talked about for a long time, but I feel like this is the first administration that's actually considering doing anything about it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But Anna, we are going to go to our bonus time now where you can say the F word.
Oh,
So we're going to say goodbye to Radio St. Pete
Goodbye.
and our podcast listeners. And I hope you have a great week, and sign up at willsyoutube.com. Click subscribe. We're live on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and the Substack, hmbradio.substack.com. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can do that, 813-693-2124. Have a good one. Goodbye. All right. Now, anything you want to say? What cuss word would you like to say next?
I'm sorry. Now I'm all out of cuss words. So can we
Cuss.
reverse the 2 segments? I apologize for that. I didn't realize. I thought we were just doing 30 minutes. So I'm glad we're doing the full show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched this. Do you know who Mike Israetel is? He's my favorite exercise doctor. I think you would really enjoy him. He's quite funny. He has some interesting things to say that I never thought I'd hear any sort of like former academic say. And I watched this interview with him, and he basically said that obesity is caused by 2 things. He said it's high food drive and people who are low conscientiousness. Basically, essentially blaming people for their own issues, saying that even if you take a person who has all the education in the world, if they have a high food drive and essentially low discipline by nature, they're going to be obese. Given that food is abundant, they're going to be obese.
I think
yeah.
I do believe that is a big part of it for sure. I think it's just available, and a lot of people don't have any self-control, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or food or whatever. Like, yeah, for sure. But I also think that the food is poison. I really do believe that now. And I think it was done for good reasons. Like I said, I think it was done because it made an abundance. They chemically altered food to make an abundance so people could eat whatever they wanted and not feel hunger, because we're America and we're the land of plenty, literally. So I think that we sacrificed our health in order for that short-term comfort of being, full all the time. But it is weird how you see, like, some people it seems not to affect. There are just normal people out there. Like I said, the vast majority are overweight or obese at this point.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, just like I just saw this guy walking by. I think he's South American, though. He's a painter here. We're having our building painted, and he looks very svelte. I wonder if he's eating the food here or what his deal is.
I mean,
physical labor too.
I don't know if you've met this archetype of person. I'm always wildly surprised when I meet one. The people who just like forget to eat. Like, I'm not like that. There's people who are just like not really food focused. I used to work with a guy, maybe some of you know him on the former show, and he would just be like, yeah, I don't really think about food. I don't really, like, I'm not really hungry. I have to remind myself to eat lunch. And he was very thin, like fit dude in his like 50s, like great shape, like to surf. I'm sure people who, listen to the former show I was on know who I'm alluding to, but I would just like look at him like he was an alien. I'm like, you forgot to eat? Like, even me, when I'm doing my intermittent fasting, I'm very aware of how long I haven't eaten, and I'm very excited for when my meal is coming up. But there are people like that exist where just like food is just like not a big deal for them. So you have that, but most people aren't like that. And then there's people like me who have like a pretty moderate, maybe even high food drive. I love watching people eat. You know how demented I am, right?
Yeah.
But I have high conscientiousness. I'm very disciplined. I'm neurotic. I don't want to be, I have this fear of being, overweight, and that keeps that food drive in check. So when you have someone who just has unmitigated conscientious or non-conscientiousness, who like just doesn't care or isn't disciplined, plus high food drive, they're gonna be 1,000 pounds. They're gonna be fat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still convinced that the quality of the food has a lot to do with it. Although, like I said, it doesn't
Sure.
seem to affect everybody. I think those people were breastfed is my
Okay.
thing. I
Yeah.
mean, like I can only speak for myself here. It's my weight's been a battle, and I know that I'm not doing myself any favors by a lot of the things that I do, like drinking. Drinking is obviously just empty calories, and those are generally people who aren't hungry or alcoholics because they just get all their nutrients from alcohol. They feel
Mhm.
full. And the beer will kind of keep them alive. It's got enough
Mhm.
in it where it will kind of keep them alive for a long time. But
And eating was messes with the drunkenness,
yep.
so they don't want to get full.
Oh, I've definitely done that. Like I need to get a good buzz on before
Yeah.
I eat at an
Right.
event or
And then
something.
you eat and it just like goes away.
I don't eat. I just go, I want to
Yeah,
keep this
okay.
buzz going. No, that's more important.
Yeah.
And I'll just drink instead. I've done that many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, and then I look back on being a kid and taking this medication that obviously did something
Sure.
and went from the skinny kid to the fat kid in a summer.
Really?
And yeah. Yep.
What age? You said like 8 or so?
No, it's younger than that. I think it was like 6.
Jesus. All right.
Yeah. So it was something happened there. And I don't know what happened to my body chemistry, but whatever. It is what it is. But it's been something I battle with. But I think it's quite obvious, and I think you would agree that a lot of the food is not most nutritious. However, you can always find things that are more nutritious if you make better
Sure.
choices and don't buy things from, the freezer section of the grocery store. Just buy fresh food and you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, and also I would like to dispel the myth that like unhealthy food is the cheapest food, because it's actually not.
No, it's not.
The
Especially now.
bulk food that you buy, like oats or rice, or even like, which isn't ideal, but canned vegetables. Okay, it's not fresh, but it's better than SpaghettiOs,
Sure.
So that food is truly the cheapest. I
Mhm.
mean, you can get a bag of just like frozen vegetables. I don't think that, and not like the fancy ones that are seasoned and stuff. I mean, just like stock, great value, big bag of frozen vegetables. Again, not ideal in terms of like, there's probably more nutrients in fresh vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. But again, better than
Yeah.
ice cream. Like,
Before we wrap up, because I do want to get to this other story that we have, because it's kind of local, kind of national, and I know that you said you had some strong opinions on it.
yeah.
Did you see? This is a few weeks old now. I mean, but did you see the? Typically, it seems like the left wing accounts on Twitter and stuff are grifters, that they'll just post the same things and they're getting paid from somewhere. It would appear because
Yeah.
it's the same verbiage. Did you see the grifting on the right that took place a few weeks ago?
No,
With
I don't know. With who?
soda,
Soda?
big soda. So what they did was they reached out, some sort of lobbyist for soda. RFK said no more food stamps for soda. We're not going to do that.
Good.
You can't buy soda. Yeah, I
Good.
think that's probably a good thing too. So big soda paid these, right-wing accounts about how Donald Trump drinks Diet Coke and that's not fair. Like people shouldn't be banned from. Remember, Bloomberg tried to ban the soda sizes. You could only have a certain size of soda in New York City, and soda is freedom. And they got busted because they did the same thing where they posted the same verbiage in their tweet.
Mm.
So a lot of these accounts got busted. Some of them had to come clean and say, "Yeah, I was paid to make these tweets." But I thought that one was funny.
Yeah. Do you
So
think that there should be, because I'm a pretty, staunch, I don't want to say libertarian, but I have staunch libertarian principles, say. I mean, I don't think they should be banning sodas and stuff like that, or even sizes of sodas. I understand you're talking about like getting the poisons out of the food. Fine. I can get along with that in terms of regulations, but in terms of things that are just not poison, but just not good for you in
I
excess.
don't even, but I think they could make soda where it's better for you. Like I don't think the corn.
They do. They have the like Olipop and the
No,
LaCroix. You know, LaCroix sucks, but
no, I mean I'm talking like use sugar. If you use natural sugar, I think it's not good for you. But
okay.
I
So
think it's better than
let me
using corn
dispel
syrup.
another myth. I think regular sugar is like 50% glucose, 50% sucrose. Like high fructose corn syrup is chemically pretty similar to that. It's like 45% sucrose and 55% glucose or something like that. I don't think it's going to make a tremendous difference.
What's the refinement difference though between high fructose corn syrup and just regular sugar from sugar cane?
I don't know. I think the question is like how many calories, like what's the macro breakdown per ounce or whatever.
I think it has to do with the ability for your body. High fructose corn syrup is something that's man-made as opposed to sugar that comes from nature. I'm not saying you can drink soda every day.
But
It's bad
sugar
for you. You'll have
itself
sugar.
is processed. Like everything
Yes,
is
but
even rice. If you clean rice, it's considered a processed food.
I
Now, it's
know, I know,
different from an ultra processed food, which is like, you know, a little Debbie snack or something like that. But
yes,
sugar is processed. I mean,
but it's something that, like, you know, it's been done for hundreds and hundreds of years where people have figured out how to get sugar from a sugar cane and make like a cake or make a
yeah,
sweetened drink. High fructose corn syrup, I think the body can't handle, and it just turns into fat, is my theory. And I think that sugar would get used, or, you know, you'd be doing something, ideally walking or whatever, and you would use that sugar as opposed to, I don't think the body really knows what to do with the high fructose
but
corn.
high fructose corn syrup is derived from corn, which is
True.
natural.
Yes.
So again, I know there's like this, I'm kind of anti like naturalist fallacy, which is odd. You know, it kind of goes against my brand, but just because something is natural doesn't mean it's good or
I
better
know,
for you.
but I'm not saying it's good though. That's the thing. Like it's bad for you. I
Yeah.
just feel like your body has, you know, undergone this evolution as a
Mhm.
human and has figured out that sugar comes from a sugar cane, and you can add, like it just has an ability to process it that it might not have chemically, the composition of it, even though it's sugar, yes, and it comes from corn. And I don't really know what the process is, but I know it's made in a factory. As
Sure.
opposed to
I
you,
mean,
what we could be, if we knew how, we don't know how
but
anymore. It's me and you. We could get sugar from the sugar cane, and your body goes, "Oh, this is sugar, okay." And if you don't
sugar,
eat it, it turns to fat. And it,
yes,
go ahead,
but okay, so sugar is just glucose. Glucose is in everything. It's in a potato, it's in a
yep,
muffin.
right?
You know, sugar from a sugar cane, okay, but when we say sugar, you look at any sort of, you know, you look at oatmeal and you look on the back, you know, just whole rolled oats, and you go, how many sugars is in this? And it tells you.
Yeah,
Because sugar is just in everything.
right.
It's
It's
glucose. It's a
you need it.
carbohydrate.
Cells need it to do stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, perhaps you're right. You know, I know seed oils are the big bad wolf these days. And I was kind of going along with that until I started doing research. And it's like, well, the problem is that it gets conflated with other stuff. So you put a bunch of seed oils in like a Snickers bar, like again, those like little cake snack, little Debbie snacks. And then you look at the chart and you go, you know what? We started eating seed oils. Everyone started getting fat in like the early 80s, late 70s. Like that's the problem. It's the seed oils. It's like, well, the seed oils are in all of these hyper palatable foods. So maybe it's the collective food and not necessarily the oils you put in them. That's the problem.
They don't. I think we're saying the same thing. They just,
Okay.
can you make it without the seed oils? Yes. Okay, then let's do that, because I think that our body, you know, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm
Mhm.
speculating here a little bit, but I don't know if our body knows what to do with some of these more processed items. And
Mhm.
my theory is that it just turns it to fat because it doesn't know what to do with it and just stores them away. That's my theory.
I don't here's the thing is like it's I don't know if you've Well, me being in like big into the fitness stuff, there was this whole movement called If It Fits Your Macros, right? And the idea was it doesn't matter if you get your protein from lean chicken or you get your protein from a McDonald's hamburger, as long as you get your macros in, it doesn't really matter where the source is. And to some degree, I kind of go along with that. The problem is that you miss out on a lot of micronutrients. And also, you're just not going to feel quite as full if you don't get enough fiber, which is found in a lot of whole foods. But at the end of the day, a sugar is a sugar and a carb is a carb, and it doesn't really matter where you got it from. Now, if you have the problem with the dyes and the stuff, I think that's a different issue because it's chemicals and we don't know what they do to the body, and it maybe affects digestion. But in terms of things that are, everything is processed. You pull a potato out of the ground, you clean it, it's considered a processed food.
Yeah, but that's semantics. And everybody knows that's not what we mean.
I understand. And the problem truly is just like hyper processed foods are just so easy to consume. I mean, you can eat a bag of chips and it doesn't even put a dent in your appetite, right? And that was 1,000 calories and you're not any fuller. Try eating 1,000 calories of broccoli. You're going to be so gassy and full. You're not going to even get to that point. So it's really, that's why I'm such a volume eater. Like I eat a lot, but the foods that I eat are pretty low calorie typically. And that's how I manage my weight.
Mm-hmm.
But volume wise, I eat an S ton. Now I'm not swearing. But yeah, I'm all about volume eating because if you looked at like the amount, like the volume of the food I eat, it's frightening. It scares Chris all the time. He's like, how did that go into that body?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you continuing to eat? But the reason why I'm not enormous is just because those are typically like low calorie, high fiber foods.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have a good diet and you work out a lot and you're in good shape for that. You avoid processed foods as much as possible. I think for somebody who's not as disciplined, if you can make the food without doing those ingredients that are kind of, now there's studies, and there's science behind it where these things are doing damage to human beings. Let's not do it if we don't have to find other ways. And it seems like just, eating, what's found in nature, like sugar, as opposed to a sugar that we make and process, I think would be better overall. It's still not great to eat sugar. I just think it's better to have the natural one as opposed to made one.
Probably like the less processed, the better. And it's probably the case that sugar cane is less processed than high fructose corn syrup. But I just feel and fear that we're going after the wrong things, in my opinion. When I see the whole beef tallow movement, like, oh yeah, beef tallow, it's like, okay, so you're just going to eat fried potatoes in beef fat versus fried potatoes in vegetable oil. Maybe we just shouldn't be eating fries every day, period.
I think everybody agrees with that. I think that it seems like using the beef tallow is, more natural and probably more easily digestible. Now, if you eat it every day, you're going to get fat.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say is like it's quantity. How many calories are you consuming every day? It's energy balance. And again, like what you're saying with the dyes and beef tallow versus vegetable oil and all that sort of stuff, like, would that make a difference? Like, yeah, I'm sure, but I don't think it's going to do as much as if you were to go, hey, you need to eat more fiber so you're full, so you don't overeat and have, 4,000 calories a day as an 8-year-old because you're going to get diabetes by the time you can drive a car.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what this, I, for one, I know that there's a lot of, would you say, light criticism on Robert Kennedy in his current role in the HHS secretary. I'm willing to give it a try though, because what's going on now is not working. So I'm cautiously hopeful that things are going to get better. Yeah.
And I like Robert Kennedy because he's like, I don't want to have a fat personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I would see that sometimes. I'm like, your body is your brand and your business. You know, we had the trans Rachel Levine, I think, had the position.
Yeah.
No, she's not in shape. I don't want to look like her. I'm not going to listen to her when it comes to matters of health. Like, at least Robert RFK Jr. he's working out. He's lifting the weights and he looks phenomenal. He's what, 70, 71?
Mhm.
He's brilliant.
He's on that
So-
TRT, baby.
He's doing something right, right?
Agreed. 813-693-2124 is the voice and text line. If you have any comments or concerns, you can obviously leave them down below. thehomemadebroadcast@gmail.com. And I don't have Twitter anymore. I do. It's HMB Radio, HMB Tampa Bay, I think it is. But it's just to read. I don't really do anything with it anymore. But we wanted to get to this, Anna, before we have to go. We're running out of time here. I thought this was interesting because it's a local politician and it's a national story. And you're a lady. You own the equipment. You are a woman, and I am a man, and I have an opinion about it too. But I wanted to hear yours. So, Representative, we talked about her, I think, a couple weeks ago too. Anna Paulina Luna, right here, our Congress lady. She defeated a GOP effort, and she's part of the GOP. She's a Republican, to block proxy voting for new moms and dads. And it says 9 House Republicans joined all 213 Democrats Tuesday to keep alive a bill that would allow lawmakers who are new parents to cast those proxy votes for 3 months after a child's birth. The GOP revolt, spearheaded by Luna, was a blow to White House Speaker Mike Johnson, or House Speaker, excuse me, who swiftly moved to cancel scheduled votes for the remainder of the week. Last month, Luna secured the 218 signatures to a parliamentary tool known as discharge petition, forcing a vote. What does this do exactly? Just tell me what it does. Tuesday's vote came one day after Luna left the hard right House Freedom Caucus, saying that it had blackmailed Johnson trying to kill her petition. Democrats rallied around Luna's measure, with Representative Brittany Peterson addressing the House and carrying her 2-month-old Samuel in her arms. She said, "When I was pregnant, I couldn't fly towards the end of my due date because it was unsafe for Sam, and you're unable to board a plane, and I was unable to have my vote represented here and my constituents' vote represented." And what's you said you have a good take, or maybe not a good take, but a hot take.
No, definitely not a good take. Probably a hot take. Now, I am a woman. I do identify as such, and it was also the gender I was assigned at birth because I have a vagina. But I am not a mother. And I'm sure I would get some hate for saying this because they're like, "You're not a mom. You don't know." You're right. I don't know. But guess what? I also don't care. So I think, although it shouldn't be banned or anything like that, it's fucking rude to get elected into Congress and then you decide you want to start a family. That is a fucked up move. I don't appreciate it. You are representing a district in your state. People are relying on you to be there to represent them and their interests. And you decided that you were going to go get knocked up like the hoe that you are and be MIA. And now you want to do it from home. And then that Peterson woman, the Democrat, she had like 3 kids in like 5 years as a member of Congress.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, that really grinds my gears. Now, it's not one of those things where I would ever want like a mandate. Like, once you're in, you don't want to don't want to be locking up women and have, control of their reproductive lives and all that, because we don't want to control women's bodies. Okay, but it's fucking rude. That's what I'm going to say. It's not nice because we elected you to do some business. You represent not just yourself and your family, but a giant collection of people that are relying on you to be there and be aware. And you can't do that when you have like 6 kids running around.
Yeah. I share your opinion.
Okay, great, right? It's rude.
I will say this. I think there should be a mandate. I think it should be lesbians and postmenopausal women are the only people that can serve in Congress. That would be unfortunately it's a cross to bear. It's one of these things. It's like, well, I couldn't serve then. It's like, well, sorry. If you can't do the job, then you can't do the job. That sucks. But maybe come back and after menopause, and we'll see what we
you're
can
done
do.
having kids.
Right.
I'm not against like a young, like 35, but you had 2 kids when you were 20. Fine.
I
So,
say
like,
I say it tongue in cheek.
yeah.
Part of it, I'm being facetious, obviously a little bit, but I think you make a valid point that if this thing person that you created, which is incredible that you were able to do that, but you may not be able to do your job in government, which is a very important
You
job.
can't. When you have a newborn that you have to feed every 2 hours
Yeah.
and you haven't slept in days because guess what? They need that titty milk. I'll say that in this segment. They need that. They need to be breastfed so they don't turn out like you. No offense,
None taken.
but you cannot do your job well, and you can't be just, oh, you made it to Congress, and Paulina Luna, when did she get to Congress? Like 22, and then the next year she has a kid.
Mhm.
And that other Peterson woman, she was like, I've been in Congress for 5 years and I've had 3 kids since then. That sucks. You
Mhm.
suck. And I feel like you should not, like, if I was in your district, I would not vote for you again. Like,
Mhm.
look what you did. You were unavailable. We needed you. I don't want to say your children, but you're representing us. And you decided I'm going to go out and create a few more lives that need me and rely on me and not just my attention. Like, if you're a mom to teenagers and you want to neglect them and be a crap mom, fine. But if a newborn actually needs your body, like, to sustain life. So yeah, I got a real problem with this. I think it's you suck. And I would not vote for you again.
I think that there are other factors here, which is number one, that she's saying, well, we'll just let proxies vote. Like, I think if you have a laptop set up and you have a secure connection with a VPN and whatever, privacy that you can put on your computer. I don't know anything about computers, but and you can listen and you're holding your baby and you can listen and then vote. Okay, that's fine with me, I guess. But it also just shows you that if they're talking about proxy votes, how these people, even Congress people, are just, kind of mascots for a little blob of power, where they have their aides that read these bills and tell them how to vote because she's got a million different things going on. So they
Oh
read the
yeah.
bill and then go, yes, vote yes on this, no on this. Like, she's not sitting and not only her, but the vast majority of them spend most of their time making phone calls asking for money for their next reelection campaign. So they have a team that is doing this stuff. So it doesn't really matter if she's not making the vote herself. But I agree that at least need to be some sort of, to save face, that you should be available and be there. And this should be your job. Because
Right.
it's not really a full-time job, right? Like, they're not getting, or I guess they do get paid. Do they have other jobs?
Yeah, they get paid.
This is her job,
This
right?
is your job. And here's the thing, like, it opens the door to, say, fathers of newborns, right? So then they're going to be out for 12 weeks.
Mhm.
And then what if you're out on paternity leave, but then you decide, you know what, I'm out on paternity leave, might as well just go on vacation. People take advantage of this. And I read an article about it was like an editorial, but about it just kind of opens the door, Pandora's box of, okay, well, I want to go to a funeral and I'm going to this funeral that happens to be in Germany. And while I'm there, I'm going to just stay an extra week and just say I'm there for the funeral. You know what I mean? And so people take advantage of this like they did during COVID, which fine. It was a pandemic. They didn't want people to get sick. But then you need to return to work. And they did. And now Anna Paulina Luna is, teaming up with these Democrats about how it's like, I don't want to say like low-key feminist, but kind of like, this is supposed to be the party of families. It's like, no one's against families, but you need to have had your family, in my opinion, before you come to work for somebody else's family.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think that technology will kind of allow us to do certain things, but like voting by computer or
But then,
something, or
like,
by your phone.
why does anyone need to be there at all?
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah,
one person
you're
can do
right.
it from Zoom, then like everyone collectively, hypothetically, can do it from Zoom. But as I understand it, much like doing a radio show, there's, you argue and it's probably not like the British Parliament, but there's back and forth. And what about this? And you're just not going to get that via Zoom,
Yeah.
So
No, you're right. It is interesting that all the Democrats, I feel like just leftist politics in general is have my cake, eat it too. And well, how are we going to do it? We're just going to mandate it. And then,
Yeah.
we'll get there. But I think it is an interesting point. Like if I'm trying to think, what would the equivalent for a man be? And I guess this just isn't a man. Like a man can do it because he doesn't have to look after a child, right? Unless let's say unfortunately his wife died or something, and he's got a newborn. Then you might go, well, sorry, you can't be here. You can't be at both places at once, right?
I mean, dude, there's been women in Congress for, I don't want to say it's so long of a time, but probably since like the 60s at least. Them bitches found a way to do it. They found a way. They maybe bring their kid on the tit to work. Okay. But they were there.
Did they? I wonder if they did that. I don't know.
Or maybe they just had the courtesy to not have children when they were working for the country. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you could even say the country or your job or anything. I mean, the FMLA requirements for like paternity leave. So I was doing that FMLA leave last year. I mean, some of it's like 6 months away from your job. And it's like, 4 months are paid and then 2 are optional where you depends on what your company's plan is. But it's like 6 months away from work. Like, dude, I don't think your company needs you. I don't think your company needs you if you're away that long. That just seems like, I don't know, like way too much. I don't know how companies are operating with that, particularly if it's a low level person, which they don't get that much. Usually the higher level people are the ones who get that 6 months away from work. And it's just like, what a burden you're putting on your,
exactly
teammates.
on everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. So maybe it's not a very pro woman stance. And I'm sure if when people hear that, they go, well, you're not a mother, okay, I'm not, but also like that's a dick move. Sorry, it is.
And it's federally mandated. That's 6 months away or whatever it is. 12 weeks, I guess, at the very least of job protection where you can wait. And that's 3 months that you can be away from work without getting fired. 3 months, a quarter of the year, 25% of the year, you could be away and not get fired.
Well, I'm sorry, for what job is this again? Like
just FMLA, which is like the Family Medical Leave Act. So if you have
you're mandated to pay these people. Okay, I mean,
well, no, it's not. FMLA is not paid, but there are some companies that have a short-term disability that you layer on top of FMLA, and then it can be paid. And some companies do pay, have very generous packages where women can be away from work for 6 months.
Yeah.
And paternity leave on top of that. So I mean, like some are away for a year.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're away for a year, your job's not that important.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I gotta go. Thank you, Anna. You saved the day.
No, thank you, Will, for being so accommodating and flexible. And we'll see you. Well, I guess this will come out next week, but we'll see you the following week.
That's right. Live at 6 p.m. willsyoutube.com, hmbradio.live, 813-693-2124. It's all down there below on the bar. You can get a hold of us if you want to yell at us, any ladies or gentlemen out there want to do that. If you want to donate, you can do that at my Venmo, Will Kuncz, and I'll split it with Anna. Super chats are always welcome. Obviously, this one we won't be able to read because it's not live. But we appreciate those. And hmbradio.substack.com. It is free to subscribe. There is a paid version if you want to support the show. We greatly appreciate people that do that, but at least go subscribe for free and get the episode early. Anna, let's talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Bye, guys.